lines. And he was even quoted as saying, "Turn around and fire, or I will cut you down." In other words, if they didn't turn around and get back to their skirmish lines, he was going to shoot. He was going to order them shot with whatever soldiers he had with him. Well, finally, these soldiers turn around and the Union gets more reinforcements. And finally, these rebels are boxed in from three sides. They're going to be just basically cornered on their assault of Cemetery Ridge. So they dig in and wait. Okay, they've got to the fence line, they're still moving, they're facing resistance, they're getting boxed in from three sides because the Union got reinforcements, but they dig in and wait. What are they waiting for? Stuart, who never comes, right? So the Confederates dig in, desperately waiting for Jeb Stuart and his cavalry to arrive, but obviously they never appeared. So Pickett's charge then, when they figure out they're not coming, quickly becomes Pickett's retreat. Okay? So once the Confederates realize that Jeb Stuart and the cavalry are not arriving, Pickett's charge quickly becomes Pickett's retreat. And the Confederates have lost at Gettysburg. In that first hour of Pickett's charge, the Confederates lost over 6,000 men in the first hour. First hour. And by the time they reached that fence line, they had lost half their men, right? So this was a devastating loss for the rebels. Now, all this rebel loss of life took place on a farmer's field, right? You know who owned that field? Ironically, a freed slave. They lost their lives on a farm owned by a freed slave. A little bit ironic. Now, in this 3-day ordeal at Gettysburg, the casualties, that would be killed, wounded, or captured on both sides, over 50,000. Over 50,000 soldiers on both sides were either killed in battle, captured, or wounded. Can you imagine what the town of Gettysburg looked like? I'll give you 3 examples of how devastated the town of Gettysburg was. 3 examples of how devastated it was. First of all, the town was burned and in ruins. There wasn't hardly any town left. The town was burned and in ruins. What about all those valuable crops that were growing so greatly prior to the battle surrounding Gettysburg and those farms? What do they look like? Totally destroyed. Totally destroyed. So valuable crops in the surrounding area around Gettysburg on those farms were totally destroyed. Picture this in your mind. Corpses of over 10,000 men on both sides litter the streets of Gettysburg. 10,000 corpses. Can you imagine? I don't know how big Gettysburg was at the time. Can you imagine 10,000 corpses littering the town of Worland? My God, can you imagine that? It was just an unbelievable sight. Not to mention the streets of Gettysburg. What do you think the fields look like that surrounded Gettysburg? When you have 50,000 killed, wounded, or captured, most of those killed or wounded, unbelievable sight. What did Meade do, though, in which he did a good job at Gettysburg, but where did he screw up? What didn't he do?
He didn't chase them.
He didn't pursue them. To President Lincoln's dismay, General Meade failed to pursue Lee's forces into Virginia and go to where? Richmond. Didn't do it. And historians will tell you that if Meade would have taken the initiative and done that, maybe he ended the Civil War the other way. But what did he have concern for? His men. Okay? The wounded, dead. Lincoln was later quoted as saying, you don't have to write this down, but certainly listen to it. He said, "Our army held the war in the hollow of our hand, and they would not close it. Still, I am very grateful to Meade for the great service he did at Gettysburg." But a lot of people think if Meade would have just continued to chase Lee clear to Virginia and into Richmond, he might have ended the Civil War there. 4 months after this battle, on November 19th, 1863, 4 months after this battle, on November 19th, 1863, President Lincoln gave a brief and moving speech. He gave a brief and moving speech at the dedication of the National Cemetery in Gettysburg. 4 months later, on November 19th, 1863, President Lincoln gave a brief and moving speech at the dedication of the National Cemetery at Gettysburg. This famous speech we're talking about, as you well know, goes down in American history as the Gettysburg Address. And I'm going to give you a copy. Short one? Oh, okay, I'll give you. And we'll pass this, if you would, always back to Sheriff there. Let's read through this. I think it's kind of fun to read through it. Here we got. Since I made it so small, I'm going to have to pull out the cheaters here. 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that our nation might live, that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, it is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall have not died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. One of the most famous speeches in American history. Okay, let's tell you what we're doing here. This is the end of the test material. I am going to put in a video about the Battle of Gettysburg. We will not get through it today, but we will finish it tomorrow. So those of you that are going to be gone tomorrow, which is Thursday, it would be very beneficial. Is that only you, Morgan? Okay, Hunter, if you're going to be gone, I am asking you seriously to come in Monday after school if you can to pick up the first half of this, because we're going to start it today, we're going to finish it tomorrow, we're going to have a review Monday, I changed it up a little bit, and a test Tuesday. Okay? So if you missed this, we got to get caught up. So, Emily, my dear, if you'd be kind enough to get the lights and the door. This is very good. I want you to have your notes out, and I want you to be paying attention and adding anything that you think that might be of importance that I didn't tell you. But I told you most of this, so you should be in pretty good shape.